Hey, welcome to the final episode of AfroQuantum Experiences ArtMaker Talks. I'm your host. My name is Jake. And welcome to, well, kind of cold Florida. Believe it or not, we have a little cold spell going on. That's why I have a sweater and a hat on. But we are really excited. This is our Women's Month show, and I have an incredible lineup of women. So let me just say our little things that have to be said, which is all videos in this episode are for educational purposes only. And I want to thank the Creative Pinellas staff who's supported this, Barbara, Charlene, Beth, the producers, Kim, Roman, Ketsy, Freddie, everybody in the background that I might be forgetting. Today's guests, we have Miss J. Henson, who is just my idol, L'Oreal J. Holloway of Cultured Books and Cultured Literacy Foundation, Charlene Emmanuel Edwards of Like Too Many Things, her and Chandra Allison, the next person after her on the list, do too many things for me to, you'll hear about them soon, Tiffany and More of More Eventful Hall. And Ancestral Funk, we have Melissa Cooper Rowland, who's going to be representing for her and her daughter, Siobhan, because Siobhan is in rehearsal for Ragtime. We're really excited about that. And Ashanti Day of her own spiritual organization, which she's going to share with us. But she is Melissa's daughter, and I need to say that because Melissa has a really dope family. Okay, so we're now going to go into meeting our individual guests. I got to stay on the run of show because we got a lot going on. We have a lot of fantastic guests. So I would like to introduce Miss J. Henson right now. Miss J. Henson, Mama J.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. So, Ms. J, please tell us, how did you start your organization? Tell us a little bit about Arts for Life.
Well, in order to talk about Arts for Life, to give you the right perspective, I have to talk a little bit about me and where I came from. Originally from New Jersey, and I came from a very diverse community. We had people from Puerto Rico and Cuba and Italy and Ireland and African Americans. And so we had this plethora of culture going on all the time. And in addition, my family was highly diverse. We have Native Americans, we have Jamaicans, we have my grandmother's from Ireland. And so we have this mix of cultural medley that we constantly celebrated everyone and everything. And when I came to Florida, I worked in an organization that had a lot of young girls, and I would hear them talk about their African culture and ancestry in a very negative way.
Mm.
The names they used to call themselves, I was just in shock that they spoke so negatively about who they were. And so immediately I saw the need. I said, I have to educate these children, not only their children, but I had to educate the parents and in some instances, the grandparents. Because when I would talk to them and tell them about their ancestry from Africa, the kids would say to me, we're not from Africa, we from Alabama. And when I go home, I'm gonna tell your mama, I'm gonna tell my mama you said we from Africa.
Wow.
So I had to educate them and talk to them about the history and culture beyond slavery.
Mm,
And even when I was coming up in school, the only thing we learned about Africa really was Tarzan, and how he was able to speak to all of the natives and all of the animals. But
my God.
I got older, and when I studied dance for a long time, so that took me on a cultural journey as well. And I wound up meeting some people from the Guinea Ballet, and I studied with them. I performed with members from the company, and
Mm,
they had traveled all over the world. And when we would always sit down and have circle time, and they would talk about history. And my mind was just blown because I said, all my life, I never heard of any of this stuff. And
mm,
so as I learned, then I knew where to go to research and where to get the information. And it was an amazing experience. And it changed my life in terms of my view of myself, my view of the community, and knowing that there was so much that was contributed to the world. So I just began sharing that information with the youngsters, and we eventually, I developed a nonprofit organization, and we got funding, and we got facilities. It took time, but the children, they were so inspired and motivated, and their parents were so inspired and motivated. And we just kept pushing and pushing. And now, we have our facility. My children perform, I call them children, but they're adults now, but they're performing all around the world. I get to travel to New York and San Francisco and Colorado just to see the results of this entity and education that has come into their lives and given them a sense of pride, confidence, and a communication, a way to communicate the beauty of who they are. And
mhm.
so we've been doing it for 32 years now. And I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. Look forward to it every day.
Can we watch that quick video, please, Ketsi? Yes. And then when we come back from the video, I just want you to talk just quickly about a life-changing experience that you had, just to share with the audience, about overcoming.
The Juvenile Welfare Board invests in quality programs designed to combat summer learning loss and enhance students' learning after school year-round. One of these, located in the heart of Clearwater, is Arts for Life and their Explore the Arts Summer Camp. This grassroots organization was created to enrich the lives of children and families by exposing them to the benefits of arts in their daily lives. After some indoor learning activities, it was outside in the fresh air for the next enrichment lesson of the day, dance, complete with live musicians. No child left behind here. All were enthusiastic and eager to participate as they were led through a series of dance exercises and movements.
Wow, that was great. I never saw that before. You got to sing that to me. Yay.
So just tell us really quickly about overcoming, because you really had you had a health challenge, and you told me when we first started talking about how that gave you a new kind of vigor in life, and working with the youth.
Yes, well, I was diagnosed with colon cancer, and it was not in the beginning stages. It was a stage 3, and I was in shock. When I was doing, the doctor was talking to me, I thought somebody was sitting behind me. I said, "You can't be talking to me." He said, "I'm talking to you. You have
Mm,
third stage colon cancer." And I had two coworkers at the time that were also diagnosed with colon cancer, and unfortunately, they both passed, and I was able to live beyond that, and it changed my whole outlook on life. Um, I went through a lot of experiences. My mother came down to visit to see me, and she didn't recognize me. I had
mm,
lost 50 pounds. I had no hair, and I was a totally different skin tone color, and I was like a child. She had to grab my hand and walk me around the corner, down the street. I couldn't go around the corner for a walk, and then bring me back and put me in the bed so that I could get rest. And so during that time, it was a time of great reflection, and I thought about the things that my whole life, and what was important to me, and what meant a lot to me, and so God blessed me to be able to overcome that, survive. And once I became cancer free, every day I got stronger and stronger and stronger. And I thought about, the opportunities, because, when I was at the door, the passageway, I thought about all the things that I had done. And if I had a chance, what would I do differently? And what would I add? And so it was at that point that everything turned around, and my thoughts for what I was going to be able to do uh, changed. And I developed. That's when I developed the center, and we have been doing a lot of things, a lot of different places. But now there was a whole new emphasis and thrust to really push forward and move forward. And we have been cruising for a while, but then we just dug in and really appreciated everything and worked really hard. And you know, and it changed my whole outlook on arts, and on the time that we have, and the importance of doing everything you can while you can.
Thank you. I'm so glad and so honored to have met you, and thank you for being here with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we're going to move on to L'Oreal J. Holloway, who I'm a big fan of Miss L'Oreal. When I first saw her, I was just like, oh my God, she's so pretty. And then I found out that she's just this powerhouse of other stuff. So, Sister L'Oreal, please tell us, how did you start your organizations?
Okay, so hey everyone, I am L'Oreal J. Holloway. I'm the owner of the Pop-Up Children's Bookstore, Culture Books. It's a multicultural bookstore located on historic second. Also, the founder of Literacy Foundation, which we host literacy-based enrichment activities. So, to start it all off, it's been years in the making, but a few things happened just in my life, and a few things like all at once. So take it back to the year 2014. My daughter was 4 years old, and with her rich ebony skin and her soft billowy hair, she comes to me, 4 years old, and lets me know that she wants to be light skinned and that she wants straight hair. Now I didn't have locks, but I was natural her whole life. And her dad had locks, and I was a little confused. Like, she grew up in an environment that, shows self-love and for yourself, for your people, for your culture. Um, so that was confusing to me. At the same time, it's still 2014. The murders of Mike Brown and Tamir Rice happened, and then the year before that was the verdict of Zimmerman versus the state of Florida regarding the murder of Trayvon Martin. So I know those two things are like, how do those things connect? But the way they connect, it brings me to something that LaRon Bennett Jr. stated. It says, "He who controls images controls minds." I feel that, like, my daughter, she didn't have some self-love. Um, she didn't love herself, didn't see herself as beautiful. And then to see the world doesn't recognize or see us as beautiful as human beings when we go out into, in America. And I wanted to figure out just a way to change that narrative. And I thought the quickest way was through media, so through books, through children's books. My daughter grew up with lots of books that show positive representation of her, from Faith Ringgold, even Ezra Jack Keats. And just her growing up, we didn't really see that there. It was something that I had to force and make happen in my home. So I know it was hard in the community to see those images, to see those positive images and representation there. So we created Cultured Books, where we have multicultural children's books to instill self-love within Black people, myself, my daughters, and then to books where we can explore different cultures, different ethnicities, different just the world. So that's how we got started.
And you do so much more. I mean, you do the St. Pete Lit festival that you did,
Yeah.
and you work with the James Weldon Johnson Museum and other partners in the community barbershop book club. Um, Question: what does the Black Goddess mean to you?
What
What
does
do you
Black
think
God?
of when you think of the Black Goddess? The
When I
Black
think,
Goddess.
I guess when I think of Black Goddess, is somebody who it just has just all the confidence, all knowing that she knows what she wants. She knows what she wants, how to get it, and she strives to make it happen. That's what I think of a Black Goddess.
Well, you are a Black Goddess without a doubt, and I'm glad you're here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so
See you in
excited
a
to
few
be here.
minutes.
Thank you for having me.
Yep. All right, let's go on to our next stellar person, who is Charlene Emmanuel Edwards. Hey, Miss Char, Nurse Char, tell us
Hey
about
there.
Power Plug Radio. So you do a lot. You and Miss Chandra, who's after you. I'm just going to ask you to pick. Let's just start with Power Plug
Yes.
Radio. How'd that start?
So, Power Plug actually started off as a just a social media campaign called On the Beat St. Pete, right? Where I literally went around with my camera, just sort of trying to highlight the things that were happening that were great in our community that the mainstream media just didn't pick up. If it bleeds, it leads. And it wasn't necessarily bleeding, but it was still awesome. So, I picked up my camera and I went around. Well, that turned into a radio show on both 99.1 and, well, 96.3, Black Power 96.3, and then 99.1. At the time that they approached me about doing a show, I was like, well, who and how? I've never done this before. So, I reached out to Chandra, who I just recently worked with. Andrea came along. We had DeMarcus, Big Ball, and D. And so we formed On the Beat St. Pete. It was the four of us. And we were on the radio and we literally went around the city for like a whole year, and we just tapped into everything that was happening that other people weren't reporting on. So we went to every grand opening, every red carpet, every first whatever that was happening in our community. We really got a taste for radio, loved it, and we said we need to create our own radio station. We have our own sound, our own
Mhm.
style. We love throwback music. We love hearing things from yesteryear. So there was born Power Plug Radio in 2020. So On the Beat St. Pete became Power Plug Radio, home of your throwback jams.
Okay, and talk about better living with Nurse Shar, because
Okay.
I that's part of our culture too, health, which is, yeah. Tell us about it.
So, I'm a nurse. Some people don't know that, but I became a nurse about 7 years ago. Honestly, I've always been into communication. Actually, I have a minor in mass communication. That's always been my thing. It's just educating people. My undergrad degree is in health education, learning how to talk to people. And when I became a nurse, and specifically when COVID hit, I realized not only from my own personal experiences, but just looking around that our people are in dire straits when it comes to health and health
Mm,
needs and health access and health information. It's almost like a information desert when it comes to learning about things, and it's competing priorities. It's not that sexy, talking about health, and nobody really wants to, face that music. But
mm,
so I created My Better Living Health and Wellness Consulting to kind of twofold, to work with organizations to help them better reach African Americans, our populations. And the other thing was to help provide education to the community. Right now, I'm really into plant-based eating, so I'm really about plant-based eating. I'm really about just helping people with their nutritional needs, really working with organizations and other, experts in the community to really get us to a better, healthy place here in St. Petersburg.
Okay, and we're going to come back to you and to talk more about the Natural Food Festival, which you're also a part of. Girl,
Yes.
you just do so much. But now we're gonna go on to and you are a Black goddess, and I'm gonna ask you your definition of a Black goddess in a little
Okay.
while. Okay,
Okay.
Miss Chandra Allison, who is the other half of Power Plug Radio. But you are also the owner and operator of Urban Drinkery, which is one of the spots to
Mhm.
be. So talk about the radio station and then talk about opening up a spot, which, me and my homegirl from New York, we were real party people. And we wanted to open up a spot so bad and
Yes.
just never could do it. But look, you did it. I'm so
Yay,
like, oh,
yay.
talk about that.
Perfect. So just like Charlene said with the Power Plug Radio, I am the co-owner with Charlene. Now, as far as the radio, our love of music, I think she really kind of summed it up on how it got started. But for me, yes, the love of music, it narrates my life. So I just had to do it. And yes, please everybody download that app, Power Plug Radio. But as far as Urban Drinkery started during the pandemic. I was always, mixing drinks for people and things like that. But I just really started getting into it during the pandemic because we were stuck in the house. So, and what I did was, I just asked all my friends, made things for my friends, and asked them, which ones you like best, and they picked out the ones that they liked, and we kind of rolled with it. And as far as the brick and mortar, that came, afterwards. Like that was, I guess I looked up on that because I wasn't even thinking about that, but
Mm.
it just happened. It almost like the chicken before the egg thing, something like that. But when it happened, I thought of a place that my people can come to decompress, to unwind, a place where they wouldn't have think things that they can do as far as like artists and things like that, because we do have a lot of artists out there that come out there and their work can be shown there, and some of them just they didn't think that can happen to them. And like I say, I just wanted to create a place for my people to come and just unwind. And really, when you have a place like that, that's where your creativeness, comes from, where you're
Mhm,
able to kind of just be yourself and do your thing. So
mhm.
I'm just super excited about the space. I'm happy that people are in love with it and embracing it and seeing the vision and the reason.
It's a big thing, yeah. We have a video. Can we see
Yes, you do.
the video that Miss Chandra has for us?
Mhm.
And
And this kind of sums it up too on how it got started, where I get it from.
cool.
My name is Chandra Allison, aka Miss Urban Drinkery. I'm a mother, I'm an entrepreneur, a happy Black woman. Inspiration for Urban Drinkery is Miss Alice B. Henry, and that is my grandmother. My grandmother was an avid buck maker, and if you don't know what that is, that's fermented fruits to make alcohol. And that's what she did, and I grew up around that, watching her. It's a lot going on out there. When people walk through these doors, I just want you to decompress, feel welcome, and it's an inviting space. My signature cocktails are cognac berry, the lemon basil, the woo, and the shasha coconut. The lemon basil is one of my favorites. It just reminds you of that southern lemonade that your grandma used to make, but with a kick, a real kick. I just happened to be passing by the Deuces and I saw an open lot, and I came over here and it just spoke to me. It just felt like this is where it's supposed to be. I love the idea of the collard green festival because first, it brings us together, and the fact that it has collard greens in it, that's a staple for us. I grew up eating collard greens. Well, you better believe it, Urban Drinkery will be open for the collard green festival. I mean, as soon as it starts, we're here.
Yeah.
That was a
Yeah,
really cool video. I love
it's
that
a great
video. It really,
video.
really captured everything.
It really, really does. I can't say enough about that spot. I was there last night. We will get back to you in just a little bit.
Perfect, perfect.
Okay, and now we have another diva of night spaces, Miss Tiffany and More of More Eventful. So the first time I was at More Eventful, Tiffany, I was there for a line dancing class with Miss Leslie. Then I came back for the Tampa Bay Black Authors event that was done there every year. And so tell us a little bit about how you started this space.
So honestly, so how More Eventful came in my corporate job. The last 4 years, I used to put on the events for our benefits. So, you know, I used to be the one who used to have tours, book the rooms, and do all of that. And I loved it. And I just going through the motions because I had lost my mom, my grandmother, my brother, and I said, you know what? I want to just kind of spoke it out there. Didn't think I would ever. I just kind of prayed and meditated on for a year and a half. My husband and my daughter and I were sitting around we were just thinking of names for the space without even having. We were thinking of names and to kind of play on. So I was like, well, more something is the event because I want to make sure, like, you know, I want to. We said I forgot. We said more the first name, but then we came up with More Eventful, and it just kind of and truth be told, how amazing because you know I prayed. You have to like they ask you for a bunch of bank statements, all this stuff, and it was nothing but God. Nothing but God, how I got this space. So I was just kind of tired of the day-to-day, and it's something more. There you go, more.
Do we have, I see we have a slideshow for More events?
Upcoming events that I have.
Okay.
So
yeah. So you have, So tell us a little bit, some of the shows you have coming up.
And every second and fourth Thursday, that I do here, it's hosted by she is the host, and her husband, DJ Mr. Mism, is on the ones and behind the scenes. So that's this upcoming Thursday. It's free for anyone. You know, you can bring in outside food, just and then for Fourth, I will have a spoke by Misha and Keisha. They will be hosting the open mic
Twins.
Twins. April
Twins.
4th. So I'm excited.
My girls.
Every first Tuesday. And then just bringing back my signature comedy shows we've been doing since 2018. And now bringing it back. So that's April 4th, the comedy show.
Awesome.
Yeah, so.
Fantastic. And I'm going to ask you a few more questions about being an entrepreneur and some of the struggles when we get back. Some of the successes and the struggles when we get back to you. Thank you for being here.
Okay.
Melissa Cooper Rowland, diva. I just have to say that this woman has amazing offspring, and one of them is with us tonight. I don't know that Siobhan Monique is going to be here because she's in rehearsal, but Melissa Cooper Rowland, please tell us about ancestral funk. Tell us about raising these incredible children.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. As far as raising these incredible children, and my children have heard me say this before, and I've been telling them this since they were little. There are 6 of them, and they range from the ages of 32 to 21. And the youngest, of course, the 21-year-old, all the way to Siobhan, who's a 32-year-old. And I've been saying this since day one. We have been blessed with nations. And my children will tease me sometimes because they remember me saying that when they were little. Like, I literally gave birth to nations. And I used to always tell them, one day you're going to lead a nation. And when you lead that nation, where are you leading them to? And that was always the challenge for them. How are you going to lead that nation? So that's something that God has just blessed my womb to have these incredible, beautiful children. And then Ashanti will be one that you'll talk to later on. That's on the live as well too. But because of one of them, that's how Ancestral Funk came about. And Ancestral Funk is almost like a twofold type of thing. It's like the business came before the name, but the name was always there. And what I mean by that is Ancestral Funk, and like we talked about earlier, is ancestor appointed and God approved. And the reason why I say that is because the actual name came about from Siobhan Monique, who's an artist. She's the oldest of the 6. She's been singing since she was 3. So she went to Johns Hopkins Performing Arts School. She went to Gibbs High School Performing Arts. And then from there, she went to USF. She got her degree in classical voice. From there, she went to New York City and she did off-Broadway and different musical shows. She did her own one-woman show at that time. So when she came back from New York and she just said, I need for you and Daddy to manage me. Now, of course, I have zero idea what that means because I'm a nurse by trade. I'm not a music manager. But her main reason for saying that is because she had experienced so many different managers taking advantage of artists that she didn't want to be a part of that. She wanted to remain independent. She wanted to remain with her own artistic freedom. So she asked if we could manage her. I said, I'll give it my best shot, Siobhan. I'm not sure what that means. Through the grace of God, he has just dropped so many people in our paths to help us along the way. So that was several years ago. One day she had a show at American Stage where she's currently rehearsing for Ragtime. She did a show with her band at American Stage, and one of her, my husband's best friend, he had heard her perform for the very first time. And he came to her and he said, Siobhan, your voice has been here before. There is no way that you just created that voice from some musical lessons. He said, it's been here before. And when I heard that phrase, I said, Siobhan, that's what it is. Ancestral funk. You keep the voices of the ancestors moving forward, but you add that current modern spin on it. Because as we all know, our ancestors are responsible for every genre of music that's out there, from country to classical to blues to jazz, you name it. You can trace it all back to the ancestors. We're heavily influenced in every genre of music. So she's been blessed to be able to sing just about every genre of music. And that's something that God has given her. It's nothing that she's done on her own. So from there, we created Ancestral Funk Incorporation. That's a music emporium where people are able to come artists, whether you're a painter, a singer, a lyricist, and you have a safe space to create and not feel like someone's going to take advantage of you. So from Ancestral Funk, Siobhan being the first Ancestral Funk artist, it has just blossomed into this beautiful music company where she now has her own record label, her own production company, her own publishing company, because she has vowed to remain as independent as possible. So we never signed a contract with another record label. She became her own record label, never with a publishing company. She became her own publishing company. So now with all of her music, everything runs through her record label. So eventually, as other artists come on, if that's how God has designed this, then they too will have that same control and power over their own music. It'll never be taken away from them. We'll never own it in that aspect, but you'll also have a safe space where you can create freely. So that's how Ancestral Funk came about.
And the Motherland Festival coming up. Tell us a little bit about that.
Ooh, the Motherland Music Festival. We have been blessed with this as well too. This is the second annual Motherland Music Festival. The first one took place at the lot across from the Carter G. Woodson right after COVID, and we were able to come and congregate. But at the time, as a collective society, we were still very skeptical with coming together. So people were a little skittish about coming out to a festival. But for some reason, it continued to gain traction even after the festival was over. So here we are on our second annual Motherland Music Festival, and the festival is all about the village. It is all about the village. It is the brainchild of Siobhan. She wanted to have a music festival where people can come together and truly demonstrate the gift. Not so much the art, but what's behind the art is the gift. So we're going to have beautiful vendors that are going to be there, and Ashanti is going to be responsible for having all those vendors. That's her thing. That's what she does. So she's curating all the vendors. We're going to have live bands, 2 live bands. Siobhan, Monique, and the Negro Ninjas will be the primary band. And then Synergy and the Cup will be another band that's going to open up for her. And then Queen of X, All Hail the Queen, is going to open up as well. But this festival is really focused on bringing the entire community together. It's going to be a festival like the city has never seen. It's going to be at Williams Park, which from what we understand, this is the first time there's been a festival at Williams Park that's been curated by an African-American woman. So I've been just kind of challenging the city to research that. But from what I understand, this will be one of the first festivals. So our goal is to bring the entire city, especially our community to downtown St. Pete to really enjoy the village, because we know what communities do. Community is where we all get our resources from, but the village is where we get our strength from. So it takes a village to raise a child. So this Motherland Music Festival is all about the rise of the village. We're going to return back to that village where we can all collectively help raise and empower the next generation coming. So it's a family-oriented festival from grandchildren to grandmothers. We're going to have a DJ out there playing, wonderful music. We're going to have stilt walkers and fire dancers and West African drummers and West African dancers, beautiful vendors that are going to be very inviting in their vending spaces. So we're really asking the community to come out to this festival. It's April 22nd from 4 to 8 p.m. It's only a 4-hour festival, so it's perfect for the family. You'll be home at a safe time, and the tickets are $30. So we try to do that to make sure that everyone can afford to come to the festival.
Okay, and hopefully we can look at some of the promo stuff that Siobhan had given us, which is related to the festival when we come back.
Okay.
I'm gonna talk to your daughter, but give me your definition of the Black Goddess.
Ooh, the Black Goddess is really someone who has been appointed to hold space. And when I mean a woman that's been appointed to hold space, you have been appointed by the Most High to be able to stand in the space and not waver. You will not compromise. You will do what you have been appointed to do. And that means to take the culture further. So you're going to meet a lot of opposition when you do that, but you're going to have the strength to withstand, and you will not have a wavering mind. To me, that's what a Black Goddess is. You're going to definitely hold space right next to that God that you're standing next to.
Amen. And I feel like you are the ultimate Black Goddess with your amazing children. So let me move on to your mini Black Goddess, who is Ashanti Day of the New Nation Sanctuary, who is definitely a goddess and a priestess. Hello, Ashanti. Thank you for coming.
Greetings.
Tell us a little bit about your project.
Yeah, I have a couple, but my main project at the moment is to purchase a homestead. A homestead just consists of 160 plus acres that is completely sustainable, and to purchase plantations and refurbish them into healing retreats. And the last family to have been owned on that plantation to receive funds in the form of reparations from all the healing that will be taking place there. And then I will be curating the vendors for Motherland Festival, April 22nd.
So what is culture for you? Because you have such a great, when I first met you, your vision and everything that you were talking about and the spiritual stuff and your practices. And you're just, you seem to be what your mom just said. You are unwavering, and you seem to be channeling a very strong message. So for you, what's the Black Goddess, and how do you find that energy and that spirit working in the things that you do, and part of how you want to communicate that energy to the masses, I guess.
I feel like that was like two parts.
It
So
was. I'm sorry. Just do
no,
your
I
best.
love it.
Do your best.
The first part I'll answer as far as the Black Goddess is concerned. Yeah, I definitely consider myself a revolutionary and anarchist, someone who definitely is trying to go the complete opposite way of every direction everybody else is going. And that is in my nature, and it's in my bloodline. And I have family members who were part of the Black Panther Party and different things like that. So I know it's inherently just who I am. The Black Goddess to me is the womb, the space that everybody had to come to before they were ever existing here in this physical realm. You had to go through that space first. So the Black Goddess to me is the beginning of time. She is how everything started and how everything will end. And then the second part of the question was
bringing that to the people, because your project is so much about bringing that kind of spirituality and that kind of connection to the universe and to the womb to people. So how do you see that? How is that for you, that culture making part of your mission? Let me ask like that.
I would say it's a little bit of public versus private, right? There's some things that we definitely want to put out there that we want the public to know. And then there's some things that we want to do that are just private. So a part of what I put out there is a lot of the work that I do at home, right? The things that I do within myself when I wake up and I say my prayers and I allow God to bring it to me. Sometimes things connect that way. And then the other part of it is through the market spaces and hosting fundraisers. And I randomly will send out like a PSA to like different thought leaders and provokers who I'm challenging to either have a conversation with or sit in the same room with. And then also too, like going to different schools and talking to children. And I really like to push the silver lining. I like to break the mold. I like to, I like to shake up the room. So sometimes it's not the easiest to be invited spaces, right? Because who wants that? But it's important, and it's what my generation definitely represents and stands for. So mainly it's a lot of the spiritual work that I do within myself is what I attract. And then on a public front, I'm outside and I'm speaking to people, and I'm in places that most people won't necessarily go, right? Like if we reflect on the Jesus story, like he spent time with the people in the bars and the strippers and all these spaces that everyone turns a blind eye to. Those are the spaces that I typically like to show up and like be that light to, because those are really where you find the people who need the most help. But
Amen. Amen. Thank you for being here. I love you.
I love you so much.
So can we bring in, I think this is the time when we can bring in everybody. If I have gotten through everybody, I think I have. I'm so sorry. I know we're behind, but I just want everybody on. I had to give everybody their flowers and their time to talk, because y'all are so amazing. So let me see if I can ask like maybe just two quick questions for everybody. But I have to make these really quick. So can we just go through the line and just quickly say successes and challenges in this economic environment? That's what I want to talk about, because y'all are doing it somehow. How's it being done? Quickly, a minute each. Tiffany, can we start with you because you're at the top of the screen?
Sure. I'll say like my greatest one is being able to maintain in the event world for 5 years. I don't make it past a year or two in business, and I'm at a particular space of my business. Me. Um, and I also co-hosted 90 events. So that's another success of mine, I would say. I guess when I think of challenges that I have faced in business is keep rising costs on everything. Um, there's my vendors where I get my stuff. That's a huge challenge. Um, After a major pandemic where your business is to be closed for months because, and then I'll say another one. I do a lot mainly on my own. I do have a full-time staff person that has been in something that I would, there again, every single day my place is an open, makes it a little challenging there as well.
And what about successes? What's your biggest success, would you say?
First, so I might have went backwards. I was in a business of this magnitude for 5 years.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people don't, I mean, I've been in business but owning the space came in 2018 and that.
Yeah, that's a big success. It is.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. Ashanti Day, successes and challenge, or let's do challenges and successes.
I would say my biggest challenge is not recognizing how successful I am at 28. And constantly trying to move so far in the future that I haven't acknowledged the success of simply waking up and having breath in my lungs. And my successes would be I overcame suicide. I threw a market, just me by myself. Over 1,000 people showed up. Riza Islam, who, at the time, the FBI wanted him, and he came to our city and wanted to know where the thought-provoking environment was, and he was directed to me. So, and he was able to see the deuces from that experience, and that was, to me, a huge success. And having the mindset to create a homestead where people can literally have freedom and providing to people things that don't necessarily just take care of the symptoms, but deal with the whole aspect of the being. So, my challenge is the fact that I know I'm successful, and sometimes I don't say that enough, and then the successes are all the things that I actually have done with such short time that I've been alive.
Amen. Amen. And that's such a big conversation, the overcoming suicide, and I wish we had more time to talk about that. But just to ask you to say, if you could, in a succinct way, a message to any young people who are out there struggling with just where they are in the world today. Like, what positive message would you give them, or what message would you share from your own of overcoming, and what has enabled you to overcome?
One of my main things that I would give to the children specifically, because there has been a rise in Black children. The youngest to be reported of suicide is roughly 5 years old. So I can't fathom that, but it exists. I would say that wherever you think you're going, that may not be where you're headed. And sometimes the tragedy that you are existing in when you have taken your life is the tragedy that you might experience in the next interim. When I tried to take my life, I thought I was going to some beautiful place, and I ended up going somewhere that wasn't where I thought I was going, and it created a lot of fear and a lot of different things. So just if you can work it out here, do your best to, because wherever you think you're going to go, we're not sure, that is up to the creator, to your energy, to your consciousness. And if you haven't given yourself enough time to create that heaven in your mind, you might experience other things. And that's just the truth, so that would be my honest truth, is just stay here as long as you can.
Well, I'm glad you're here, and you are blessing a lot of people. When I met you for the first time, I was like, this is a real angel. So we're glad you're here.
Thank you. Me too.
Miss Charlene, successes, challenges. Let's start with the negative first. Challenges.
I would say like the challenges is like everyone's attention span, right? Because
Mm,
it's not that there aren't great things being done and great things happening. It's just the challenge of getting people to focus. Let's
mm,
focus on, what's happening in front of us, what's happening in our community,
mm.
building each other up. So I would say that that's probably been, one of the major challenges is just to get people to focus and connect and network.
Okay. And successes?
Successes, I I would have to say that myself, and I would also say for Chandra as well, like the biggest success is that everything that we've said that we wanted to see happen, make happen, do has happened, has
Mm,
come to fruition.
mm,
I mean, it this last time it even just scared me because I said, you say things out loud and then they come true and it scares you. But I would say that that's been the biggest blessing and the biggest success is that everything in the last 6 7 years that we said we wanted to tackle or do, we've done. And that's a real blessing.
tell us real quick about the food festival coming up.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. So on Saturday, May 20th, 2023, we are bringing the Natural Food Festival back to the Deuces. The COVID pandemic took us out for a little bit, but that's okay. This year, however, we are featuring the grand opening of the Deuces Food Forest, which was going to be awesome because it is going to introduce not only routinely fresh produce vendors, natural food, but we're also going to routinely host educational classes so people can learn how to do sustainable living, how to grow their own fruits and vegetables, how to plant-based eating. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Just really access to food. So we're really excited for this partnership. This is actually a partnership between the Deuces Live, the Bird Cares, Three Black Vegan Girls Initiative, and My Better Living Health and Wellness Consulting.
Awesome. Awesome. Miss J, challenges and then successes.
Well, we all know that time brings about change. And it's so important for us to, when you're living in your truth and you have your passion, to stay the course. You may have to modify, but just making sure that you're there, that you constantly are providing a way for those that are seeking your services to be there. So it is challenging, especially when you're living in an environment where they're twerking, and they're doing all these other things and mindless behavior, and that's the popular thing. And kids
Mm,
are on the phone, social media, and that's what's driving the change. That's what's driving their thoughts. So it has been a challenge to make sure that no matter what is going on all around you, in the midst, that you stand strong and you stand true to what you know is the right thing to do, and you're there to provide that information for our children and our families. So it can be very challenging.
I
So
have to stop you and ask you because I remember standing on the street outside of Arts for Life one day and somebody called. You got like three calls, and at least one of them you said that was a judge. The other one was like this was a foster child. The other one was a mother. And I was like, well, how do you do so much? How do you balance the art and the teaching with all this other social service work that you do? Like, what's your sense? How do you do that?
we just do it. Like whatever comes, you handle that. Something else comes, you handle that. You handle that, and you just keep moving full steam ahead. And so, and that's how it's been. And but it's important. It's important to be able to have that diversity and that patience. And the biggest component is the love.
Mm,
When you love people and you genuinely want to see the best for them, you do all you can to help. So, and then you find others like these beautiful ladies that are also doing magnificent things, and you refer them, and we do whatever we can to make that village stronger, as someone had mentioned earlier. And so my biggest success is kind of the opposite end of that spectrum, when I get a phone call from a parent and she says, hey, Our baby's opening night on Broadway is next week, and we have tickets. So we have to fly to New York. We have to go to Broadway. We have to celebrate them. And knowing that, I mean, I've been to Broadway the past couple of years, like maybe 6 or 7 different times for the Temptations, for Paradise Square, for Michael Jackson, for out to Colorado, so just all these different places. And all of that is part of the process because you go to celebrate them and say, kudos, great job. You're a great role model for the other children. You need to come back and talk to them about what this journey has been like. And at the same time, when I'm doing those things, it just feels so wonderful to be able to know that that same nucleus, that same program that created those children and gave them an opportunity to be where they are, we're still holding strong. And so we would just want to make sure that we have people, even when I'm not here, we have people that keep that alive for the children and the families in our communities.
Mm, mm. I can't even say anything after that because you're my idol. You're my everything. You do everything that I would hope to do in my life.
Well,
Miss
so you do a fantastic job and you lift me up all the time. Every time I see you on the phone, I say, oh, this is going to be good.
Miss Melissa, challenges and successes.
I think the biggest challenge for me is I thanks to my children, you kind of watch the tables turn where then you then become the student and they become the teacher. So I have been learning a lot from my children over the last couple of years, and I've shared that with them. Like they've really opened my eyes to some aspects of spirituality and this walk of life that I really wasn't connected to, because at the time it was all about just raising and rearing and raising and rearing. And now that I have these adult children, I really learned a lot from them. And I think the challenge for me is wanting to take that same knowledge that they're giving me and try to share it with everybody that I meet, to tap into the strength that we all possess that, we may not know of. So I have been challenged with slowing that down and like, okay, you're so eager and zealous to make sure that it's like, do you know how powerful you are? Do you know how much strength you have? Do you know that you're tapped into the Most High? So trying to share that with people, but understanding that you have to meet people where they are. So that has been the biggest challenge that my children have introduced me to, is being able to kind of slow down a little bit with that. And I think the success as a mom is actually seeing your children start to walk in their purpose, regardless of what that looks like or what you thought it was, because I had to remember that my children are not clones of me. They're not. They only have one small aspect of me. Like there's this whole being that the Most High created. How do I have dibs on that? I have dibs on that. So to watch them walk in their journey and all the challenges that have come with it. And as a mom, being able to kind of sit back and see that, and knowing that God chose you to be a part of that is probably my biggest success. My biggest success is, and they're in so many different areas and walks in their life right now. But I just thank God for allowing me to be here to see it. So that is definitely my biggest success, is watching my children walk in their journey, for sure.
Amen. And we know you have so much more to share, and I'm gonna find a way to get you on your own episode one day soon, because you have a lot. People don't know what you do, but I know. Miss L'Oreal, challenges and successes.
Challenges. I want to say personally, self-doubt. Just as an entrepreneur, as a creative, can have a lot of self-doubt when you're doing things differently than the status quo. So being grounded and having just community with, especially with other women, the women here actually, just always encouraging you, especially Miss Melissa and Miss Jake, and always encouraging you to keep going, and what you're doing is needed and wanted and value when those lows come. So I think that's the challenge. Just the self-doubt can be annoying. As far as successes, the feedback, like, so Cultured Books, we host literacy programming in South St. Pete. So the feedback from the community that the programming is like refreshing, needed, and wanted. Just from parents, we create the St. Pete Reads Lit Fest, which is an amazing festival, our inaugural festival. And we collaborated with Barbershop Book Club in St. Pete College for the inaugural fest last year. And we had parents talk about how their struggling readers just had such a positive time around books, around reading, around seeing themselves. So that was just a major success, because especially with that Lit Fest, it was like, why do we need this? Like, people was like, this already happens. Like, it's different. So people had to see it to believe it. But that was a major success. And the icing on top was the city's recognition of the first Saturday of November being St. Pete Reads Day. So, and St. Pete Reads is an affirmation. We do read. In our community, we read. I know the literacy rates doesn't paint that picture, but we read, whether it's lyrics, recipes, books, everything, signs, all of that. Body language, we read, so we celebrate it.
Yeah, and you have such a great outlook on it, and you are the perfect person to be leading this charge. And as a writer and a person of the word, you just mean so much. You mean so much to us, for what you do. So, and finally, Miss Chandra Allison, challenges and successes.
Okay. Well, challenges, as an entrepreneur, you're your own cheerleader. So, that balance piece right there, balancing everything that you do. And like I say, you're your own cheerleader, motivator, waking up every day, just saying you can do this, you can get out there. That's like the hardest thing. And and for as successes, just being able to wake up every day and do the things that I love to do. You know what I'm saying? Without a schedule, and just being able to create. I think that is one of the best successes ever. And just like Melissa, she's able to do this with her daughters. That's a great success for me with doing, urban drinkery with my daughter. That has been really a great success. And just like Charlene said, us speaking things in existence, and it is shocking at the stuff that we say that we want to do, and we're actually doing it, so I think that is the best thing.
And therein lies the power of the Black goddess. What a great place. And you know what? We were supposed to do some video games and all this other stuff. We're going to just thank you for letting us go over, producers. You ladies have been just a great last show. I want to thank you all for being on here. I know the scheduling was crazy, but thank you so much.
It's no problem. And Jake, and I just want to say one more thing. When I realized about the goddess inside is when you realize the God is in you.
Yeah.
And that's when you can go forward and do your thing.
Any more last words about the Black goddess right now?
I will say that about the Black goddess, as I was listening to everybody, and everybody was just, talking about how strong and independent and confident and just powerful the Black goddess is. But, I see the Black goddess as a mirror of the Black God. And so she is the light. She helps bring the best out of him or the situation or whatever. She is like that beacon. So I feel like she is hope. She is the guide. She is the light.
Well, this has been anybody else?
Well, I just want to say something, not particularly about the Black goddess, but yes, about Black goddesses. But since I've been listening to this, I've already signed up for Power Plug. I've got the urban drinkery. I'm going there. I always go to more eventful for the comedy night. So I'm so glad to hear that that's coming back. I'm going to the Natural Food Festival. I love Shaban. So I saw the thing about ragtime. I said, I need to go there. But now I'm really going. I know I'm going to go. So it's just so wonderful listening to everybody. You gave me a whole new social calendar.
Mhm,
I'm
mhm.
looking forward to just going out, meeting everybody, hugging everybody. So, so for us to give that energy back and forth so we can just
Mhm.
encourage each other to stay the course
And keep
and do
going,
even
yeah.
bigger, better, greater things.
Amen.
Perfect. Amen.
Amen. And on that note, thank you, Creative Pinellas. Thank you, everybody who joined in tonight. I love you all, ladies. You are my inspiration. Thank you for being
Thank you.
Love you.
here. Great show.